Got it.
Got it. Yes.
Got it.
So you were talking about telling our stories and that legacy. And I was thinking, that's kind of what we're doing on this podcast. And inadvertently, maybe, but really that's kind of what we're doing. We're talking about Appalachian people and their resiliency and what we're all about and what our opinions are and the things that are affecting us.
Yeah, and I think we mostly are talking about Appalachian women's stuff.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
I would like to think that we include all of humanity in our grateful consciousness, but honestly, I'm from here and this is all I really know. And I'm okay with that.
Well, I had to laugh the other day at the Wyrdlings. I'm not you Wyrdlings, you understand, but that how many of them are cleaning their house while they listen to our show?
I know.
Isn't that funny? I was like, girl, come over here and clean my house and I'll do the show live for you.
Absolutely. I would too. Absolutely. I thought that was a pretty interesting post because in my mind, the people who listen are always going to be driving to work. And I don't know why I just think that so much, but I don't believe that's the case with most of our listeners. Y'all, if you feel like it, chime in and let us know what you're doing when you're listening to the podcast. Our Wyrdlings crowd, Ilsa, the gal who runs the group there, had already asked that question. And so many of them were like, yeah, I was mopping my floor or I was doing my housework. And I guess people talk back to us in the podcast too. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah,
while we're talking about Ilsa, let's say two things about her.
Okay.
She's been having some health issues. She's going to have some surgery. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember it's this week or next week. Soon. She's having surgery soon. So y'all remember her in your thoughts and prayers.
Her surgery is in April.
Pardon?
I think her surgery is in April, I think.
Okay. All right. So it's not immediate, but it's soon. Right. She told me, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
And the nice lady that gave her a truckload of yarn that she then passed on to me for all my knitting projects, that wonderful woman died this week.
Oh.
And I just want to remember how kind that was of her to give all that beautiful yarn away. I mean, it's extraordinary, like a llama yarn from Peru and baby lambs from Scotland. It's just I would never, ever have been able to afford that kind of high quality yarn. So that was very, very kind of all of the parties that got that yarn to me.
And look at what you did with it. And so that yarn, you knitted scarves and washcloths and all kinds of cool little goodies for people that went out basically all over the world, I guess.
Yeah, so all over the country. I don't think I sent anything out of the country. But I've mailed them to a lot of different places. And there's still so much more to go.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Man, it makes my hands hurt just thinking about it.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry.
No, don't.
Your hands can't do that no more, can they?
No, not that. I mean, I enjoyed crochet. I never did knit, but I enjoyed a little bit of crochet. But it never was a big thing for me. I never loved it. I like to embroider. Is that crazy?
No, I love to embroider.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. People still do it?
Yeah, that's the earliest thing I ever did. My mother taught me to embroider when I was very young.
Me too. We embroidered pillowcases, and to this day, I love embroidered pillowcases.
Me too. We ought to reclaim that art.
Yeah, I would be willing.
Embroidered pillowcases. I'm sure there are people still do it. I just haven't done it in years.
Yeah. Well, this goes back to the earlier conversation because now you go buy a Bernina or whatever that's called. Bernina, and it will do any embroidering, anything that you want it to do. And you just put your instructions in there, and you put the different kinds of thread that you want to use in there, and it will come out and it'll be beautiful and it'll be perfect. And you didn't do it, but you did, but you didn't.
Well, and it goes back even farther than that too, that people just don't decorate the way they used to. So the
No.
idea that you would use pillowcases that didn't have like a little tatting along the edge
Yeah.
or some embroidery, that just made it, I don't know, just made it perfect somehow.
It did. I remember those things in like little napkins that would
Yeah.
have things on them. And what were the other things that they would? Oh, the one thing that I love, and I don't hardly ever see them anymore, and it's a shame because I've are these little towels that have crochet at the end, and then they have a little button so you
Oh,
can.
yeah. I've
Yeah,
got I've got two of those. I'm looking at them right now that hang on my where the sink is
yeah, I
in
love
the kitchen.
those. Yeah, I love them, and I've still got some from my family. So I guess from when I was a kid, but I don't see them out really. Not that I'm
Oh,
looking for them, but man, I really like that stuff. It just kind of made everything a house. And doilies, which I think is just hilarious. Country folks loved doilies, and they were always hand done. The lace that was hand done,
oh my gosh, yes. Or tatted lace
added lace.
doilies. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, it was a way for a person, a working class person or a middle class person could have real beauty in their
Mhm.
home.
Oh yeah.
Um, and and also because people were dirtier back in the day than they are now. So you wanted to protect the arms of the chairs
Yeah.
and the back of the couch and stuff like that with those doilies and antimacassars.
Oh yes, and Afghans. And remember, I love that.
Yeah, all that stuff. I've got a beautiful shawl that John Tree made for me. Hey, John Tree, I love you. And I keep it on the back of the couch for
Mhm.
two reasons. It makes the couch look finished. It just looks beautiful.
Yeah.
The colors are perfect. And also, of the evening when I get chilly when I'm watching TV, I just reach behind me and pull that shawl off and I wrap it around me and I think about John. I think about his mama and
He
I
must
just feel
be
really blessed by that.
he must be a very talented person.
He is. He's incredibly talented.
Yeah. I don't know
Yeah,
that I've ever met him.
I never have either. And he and I exchange things. In fact, I owe him something. I need to get him something in Scotland and send it to him. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a good man.
If I sound distracted right now, it's because I got on your page. You directly went to your page. And I can't believe the funny damn memes you have. You're pretty good at
I
that.
know. I went meme crazy yesterday.
Did you?
I did. I said I don't have anything in my head today, so I'm just going to be doing memes. And I had stolen them from. I've got my friend Melissa and my daughter Kat and a couple other people do these meme dumps. Well, where they'll dump 50 or 60 memes, and
Oh,
I go through them and I just steal the ones that appeal to me. So yeah, I did a day of memes yesterday.
I have been tempted in the past to have a meme dump day myself because I love them so much, and I don't even apologize for that because I have seen some memes that opened up my eyes and made me think differently, but I've seen some that have made me laugh until something came out of my body, like I spit something.
Exactly.
But
There's some
and
that are so funny and so clever. I can't. Oh, I love
yeah,
it.
yes, oh
And
yes,
some of them just hit me right in the feels too.
I know. Well, your big tough yard man
Yeah,
is a sucker for cute animals. Is what I found.
of course he is, as long as they ain't groundhogs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he doesn't consider the groundhog an animal. It's a nemesis.
Well, lately I have fallen in love with this little Irish boy, Jacob, I think is his name,
Uh-huh.
and he is the talkingest kid. And his mother will interview him. He was talking about Valentine's Day and what he was was his mama gonna get him a Valentine, and there was another one. Him and his daddy were gonna not go to. They weren't gonna go to school or work tomorrow, right, Daddy? Right? You're gonna tell your boss, "Oh, I don't feel good." He's just hilarious,
That sounds. And he's a
and he's,
little Irish
I
kid.
don't know, he's maybe 4 years old, something like that.
I've been secretly watching, I always tell you what I've been watching. I've been secretly watching cats doing kung fu.
Oh, that's so funny.
It is, yeah. It'll have them in the middle of a jump or something. It slows them down and puts the fu sounds and music with it. It's hilarious. That's when my brain is just done. It's just done. I just need to laugh for a second.
Well, my friend Mary for my birthday gave me a little plastic toy that's a screaming goat. So you push a little button and it goes, ah! It's pretty funny.
That sounds funny. That's very clever. Good for her. Well, did you get to see your daughter?
I did. She came in Saturday morning and she left Sunday afternoon.
That's
And we
so
had to hang out, eat some Mexican food, and she helped out getting ready for the party, and it was great.
oh,
I like my daughter, and she has turned. I mean, she always was a really cool person, and
yeah,
she's not a cool grown up, and I like that.
that's nice because you can
She's
relate to her in a
she's
different way.
yeah, she's smart and she's kind and she's got a wicked sense of humor. You know, all that stuff that I admire in people in general, and to have that in my daughter is just wonderful.
Yeah, I bet it would be.
Yeah, she's a
I
good
met her
person.
once.
Really, only once?
I think only once, yeah. And
Well,
it was at the cottage. She came in with a friend.
yeah, yeah.
And,
She she left here when she went away to college when she was 18,
mhm.
and she ain't come back. So
Well, independent and strong woman, and that's exactly what you'd hoped for, I'm sure.
yes, in fact, I told her probably on Sunday that there was a part of me wish she could just give up her entire life and move home.
Yeah.
And I said, but as soon as I think that, I think, oh God, how awful that would be for you, but it would also be awful for me. So don't do that.
It would be awful for you.
Live your own life. Yes. To
Yeah.
have a grown child hanging around your house.
I think that there is definitely a place for that and depends on the personality type. But there are people who thrive that way. And I have to think 150 years ago, that was the norm. That was the norm.
It was the norm, but also because
Necessity.
the children were getting ready to, if they got married, they
Mhm.
either went on to their own place, they lived with their in-laws, or they lived with you.
Yeah.
So they would stay with you till that happened. They would just go out on their own mostly. I mean, so there's certainly
Yeah.
there were people who did.
Yeah. So it's not, it's not that I have a problem with some people doing it, but I think that generally we need to have independence at a certain age and at
Well,
least try it.
I've always loved the idea of a compound, and that's the way old farmsteads used to be. You know, there'd be the big house, the farmhouse, and then whatever young'uns were going to stay, then they'd
They
build
would
a house for the young'un.
on the edge of the property,
Yeah,
opposite
yeah.
of yeah, and they still, that still does happen to a
I
certain
know
degree.
it does. It does happen, and that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, you just can't count on it. But it's okay way to live, I guess, if you get along with your parents.
Yes, and that's really the key, isn't it?
It is, and there are people like me who I have this exaggerated desire for independence and privacy and things that, when you're a sick child, you have if you're lucky, if you're extremely lucky, you have a support system that's involved in your life. Okay.
Yes.
So as a young person, I mean, I knew that all my life was that people watched out for me, which is, I
Mhm.
can't believe how fortunate that makes me. But did I appreciate it? sometimes I did not appreciate it. Okay, and that's natural too. You see, you want to grow up and be independent. There's a place there for
Yeah, it's an important thing.
yeah.
You just threw me right back in time to. My mother was not in the hospital very often,
Hmm.
but her big thing about it was if I'm in the hospital, I don't want anybody to come and visit me and hover over me. And that's the word. Don't be hovering over me.
Right. And
Okay, I won't.
that term hover mother,
Yeah.
that came around about 10 years ago is the first time I ever heard it. But yeah, so, and like I said, I mean, there is a part of me that is so appreciative for it because I wouldn't be here. No way would I be here. I would have
Right.
been dead.
Exactly.
And I'm incredibly lucky. My mother actually changed her career path because I had poor health, and they were really trying to learn about children and allergies and trying to figure it out. There was a doctor here in Asheville that became famous later on. His name was Dr. Claude Fraser, and he became well known because of his books that he wrote about children and allergies. And they kind of became, guidebooks for some folks. And he also was responsible for, I don't think he created it, but he had it legislated to become legal for people to have EpiPens.
Oh, it was not legal?
No, you couldn't have a medicine like that. No, that was definitely not legal. And EpiPens came around, and like I said, I don't know if he created it. He might have helped test it. I can't quite remember, but I do know that he was a huge advocate for it, and he might have been one of the first people who did try to advocate for it. And how many lives got saved because of that?
Yeah.
But and so he was right here in Asheville, and he was my allergist, and he would write books, and he would put stories about me in the book.
Oh.
Because I was allergic to everything, and they were just learning about stuff like that back then. About environmental illnesses and sensitivities and stuff like that. So, but he was a interesting guy. Interesting guy, and I think he was very religious. I seem to remember that. He was always, he didn't quote the Bible, but he had Bible quotes in his office everywhere, and I think his books had a lot of that. Because I got curious as an adult and eBayed as many of his books as I could find so that I could go back and read them. And, a lot of it was outdated by that time, but it was still, for me, it was interesting to watch or read about that process and how the medical community will come together to figure something out. But they do it at a local level, and then they share their research and data. And that, I think, is a high use of computers too, is that sharing of data.
Oh, I'm wondering, was he a Seventh-day Adventist?
He might have been.
Because we have so many really good medical professionals here who are Seventh-day Adventists.
Dr. Schutte was another one. He was a Seventh-day Adventist. And he was a general doctor. So he might have been the one who recommended.
Might have been. It's quite a lot of those in the healing professions around here.
Yeah. All right. So it says here that Dr. Fraser died in 2005. And allergists, these scriptures and taxis as a team. I don't know, that has his name in there, but and there's some photos of him. I think I'll try and find out, see if I can find something interesting about him and put that up on the Wyrd page, just in case anybody's interested. And also, the other medical thing I'd love to find out about is bioptic telescopic lenses. Have you ever heard of them?
No, I don't think I have.
I just started reading about them this morning. And evidently they exist, and I've seen them on Amazon for $49, but I've also seen them for $4,000. So there, with such a huge price difference, I like to know if they work, because that's not something that Medicare pays for, as far as I know. But wouldn't that be
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So this is the medical episode. Listen, too, speaking of Ilsa earlier,
Uh-huh.
she had some iron infusions.
Yes.
She had like 5 of them.
She was very excited about that.
I wonder how she's doing with that.
Well, I know that iron can make you constipated, but I don't know if it does that if it's an infusion or not.
Yeah,
But it can. Let's just talk about Elsa like she's not here.
Yeah.
And I wonder about her bowel habits.
Yeah. Yeah, publicly. Yeah, why not? Oh, here it is about Dr. Fraser. It's part of a very long obituary, but this is Dr. Fraser practiced allergy in Asheville for 50 years. The average person knew him as a physician who took a personal interest in their particular case. When he found a patient depressed or in need of spiritual help, he was not embarrassed to pray with them, which I don't recall. That would not have happened in my life. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, he was an interesting dude.
Oh.
I was lucky because he was the kind of doctor. I remember my mother would go and they would talk and have a conversation in a way that never happens today with doctors. Doctors don't have time today. They don't, but he took the time. And I remember hearing some of their conversations, and they'd talk about me like I wasn't there. You know, I'm 5 or 6 years old or something, and they would talk about me. And I remember Dr. Fraser was talking with Mom one time, and he casually picked up a tongue depressor, and he picked up my wrist, and on the inside of my arm, he just ran that tongue depressor down my arm about 6 inches. No big deal. And then he put my arm down and kept on talking to Mom. And a few minutes later, he picked up my arm and he showed Mom this giant welt that had come up.
Oh my gosh.
No, that's the way my skin is.
Yeah.
So, and he was explaining to her what his theories about that. You know, I need to not put this stuff up. Who the hell would ever be interested in this?
I think it's interesting.
I do too. The thing that's interesting to me is the interaction part of it. Because you will not see that anymore. I hope somebody out there has got a doctor like that will listen and actively speak to you about things. I know things can go wrong when you don't. I had a lot of ear infections, and there was a ear, nose, and throat dude on Haywood Road, I think it was, a doctor, and they were going to do this disgusting thing called a wick. Have you heard of it?
No.
They cut your eardrum and they put this piece of cloth in there.
Oh my God.
And it was just ugh. Anyway, I didn't know that was getting ready to happen. And when it happened, when he was doing that, I jumped. See, I couldn't have painkiller because I was allergic to it. So they couldn't put Novocaine spray in my ear or whatever the hell they did back then. And so I jumped, and when I jumped, he yelled at me. Now, can you imagine that? So he yelled at me, and then he saw Gail Corbin across the room, and he shut up and he finished the procedure. Not a word was said, until the procedure was done. And then my mother went and shut that door to the office and had a word of prayer with him. You see?
Your mother, she is a fierce beast, and I love that about her.
Oh, my God. She is. She really is. But
don't mess with your mama.
No, I would not. I wouldn't. So,
Including you. Nobody messes with
yeah, I learned the hard way, didn't I?
you.
Yeah, but it makes me super lucky, and I like that I had that example of a strong female. Now we're back to
Mhm.
International Women's Day.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I never, a lot of things didn't occur to me because they had never happened to me, and I'd never witnessed it. I didn't realize a lot of things until I got older, and as I got older, life, just like everybody else, life. And I started realizing a few things. But boy, I'm lucky to have grown up in a family that treated the women with respect. It
Yes, you
wasn't,
are.
yeah,
Yes,
it was.
you are.
hmm And I feel like back in the mountains, poverty was rampant, and there was a code. There really is a code that's kind of an unspoken thing, but people who were there, they're scratching out their survival and stuff. They let other people be. They didn't try and get up in their business. They left people alone, and you got to have privacy. And that is something that's kind of, people don't respect boundaries anymore
Well,
because we've
that's
done
true.
away with the need for boundaries. We have all this social media and all, cell phones and all of that. And privacy is a different concept than it used to be. I was talking to somebody yesterday who kind of said that. I'm paraphrasing what he said. But it's not the same as it used to be, and you can't expect it to be the same. So, and again, my brain goes over to my mom, who doesn't want to have a device in her house that would seriously help her because of the privacy concerns. Welcome to Insomnia Land.
Yeah, I was just thinking though about social media, especially, is that we don't have to tell everything we know.
No,
There
and
are people on social media that they'll blurt out well, they don't blurt it out, but they will write out something. And I will think, why in the world would you want a bunch of strangers to know that about you? Why?
I've thought that about myself a bunch since we started this podcast. I've thought about that. Have I just said way too much? And I don't know the answer. I see that too. I see people that it's like, do you not have any common sense at all?
Hey, I found a meme for that today that I'm gonna put up about
Okay,
common sense.
okay. You should do it. I
I'll put it on our page.
I have an album. The way that these Apple devices are set up in their phones, when you take a photograph, it goes into one big file that's just called recents. But if you choose to, you can put a copy of that photograph in a file that you create. So I've got a file called Wyrd Gals, blah, blah, blah. All right. I've got a folder called memes, and you can share things with certain people if you want to, who also have the same kind of technology. They'll have the ability to log in and see the items that you put in that album.
Uh-huh.
So I've got one that I share with Gary, my buddy Gary, and I was looking at it. You know what? It's like 11,000 photos now.
Oh my goodness.
They're all memes, every one of them. Man, so I don't know what legacy that is.
What will they say about you? What will they say? She was a meme maniac.
Yeah, they won't say anything because what do I'm just one of millions of billions of humans.
Right.
That's right. I don't really expect to be talked about that much. So, but speaking of things I do expect to talk about, we haven't mentioned a single song. We really haven't talked about food that much.
Whoa.
What the hell is up with that? Was it the full moon?
No, I think we got into technology.
Yeah, rabbit hole. exactly what it
And then we
is.
started talking about doctors.
Yeah. We haven't talked about Dolly.
Oh, Dolly. Well, I want to say before we get off the subject of doctors, I've got a great doctor and I love him.
You're lucky too. Very lucky.
I really like him a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like you have a real healthy relationship with him because you've
Mhm.
told me through the years a few things, and it's like, well, that's pretty good that you can just say that to your
Yeah,
doctor. And,
yeah,
yeah, that's
he's a
cool.
good one.
Yeah, you're lucky.
I am lucky. I'm very lucky. I've
Most
had some
definitely.
that were not so good, but he's good.
Hmm. Well, speaking of luck, no, wait, how can I segue that? Never mind, I can't. Let me just ask you, what are y'all having for supper tonight?
um, well, while we have been talking, I've also been sauteing onions, peppers, three
Hmm.
different colors of bell peppers,
Yes,
zucchini, and I'm gonna toss that with some brown rice.
that's what you were
I'm gonna
saying.
serve that over brown rice. And I fried up some bacon this
Mhm.
weekend. I think I got a little bit of that left. So I'm gonna chop that off, put it in there too.
Ooh, that sounds so good.
Doesn't it?
It does.
Sounds yummy.
I don't have a clue what I'm having. I really don't. Figure it out later, I guess. What you been listening to this week? Anything good?
Hmm. Well, yeah, okay. Because on public television they have All Creatures Great and Small.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have been watching the original series of that, which I loved as a
Oh,
kid. I
yeah.
loved it so much. So we've been watching that, and I just
Nice.
laugh and laugh and laugh.
Nice. That's real nice. Uh,
Yeah,
I'm
been
not
listening.
really.
I've been listening to music too because we got out for my birthday. We got the record player out,
Oh, cool.
and Joe
And
pulled out a box full of albums, and I've been listening to Jethro Tull and Pink Floyd,
oh, nice.
Joni Mitchell,
Which Pink
Chicago.
Floyd?
Pardon?
Which Pink Floyd?
Well, I started with Dark Side of the Moon since it's the 50th anniversary.
Yep.
That's so good. And it was funny because I was dusting the piano and listening to, I think it was Dark Side of the Moon. And then the music stops and my whole body shifted and I went, it's time to turn the album over.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, it's like riding a bicycle. Your body doesn't forget how to do that stuff.
It doesn't. I love vinyl. I haven't
Me
really
too.
listened to vinyl for a long time, but I've still got some of my records, and I've still got some worn out records where I just listened to them until they were just scratchy and all that. But I can't get rid of them because I love them too much. I love them too much.
Well, and it's funny, isn't it, when you listen to them again and you remember exactly where the scratch is or the
Yes,
pop or the place is likely to skip.
yes.
Oh,
There are songs to this day that I hear that when I hear them on the radio, I listen unconsciously some for that sound, that
uh-huh.
skip or something. And it's always a surprise when it's not there.
Crazy. But yeah, I've been listening to some music. Yeah, I guess that's it. I've got some little short pieces I need to finish up this week and get them to where they need to go.
Well,
It'll be
uh,
good to have that done. I've been out in the garden a fair amount.
have you? I've been
Yeah.
gathering some flower pots and just
Oh,
different things.
nice.
Yes, and I was looking at my packet of seeds today that you got for me or
I know
for
we
this
need to tell
place.
everybody we finally exchanged gifts.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, and thank you so much. We had so much fun opening them.
And thank you so much for my gifts. I'm very appreciative.
Well, you know who to thank there. Thank your mama for giving birth to you. There you go.
Mercy.
Oh, well, I'm glad for once that we've had a calmer episode because we need one every now and then.
You think it was calm when we were talking about International Women's Day?
It's yeah, compared to what it has been in the past and
I guess we were being
potential
fairly
for it was.
crazy.
It's good.
I just think I'm crazy as my problem.
Well, go with it because it's working for you.
Yeah, I had an omen today because I've been,
Yeah.
asking for omens and reading omens and all that stuff. And I thought, I just need to know this is all going to work out fine. It's all going to be. And then suddenly there it was, a crow flying in the same direction the car was going. And that is always a great omen to look to the future.
Wow.
Time to look to the future and let some stuff go.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, I think.
I just smiled real big and said, thank you. Thank you very much.
Nice. Nice. And I've seen that crow do the same thing at the same height as our vehicle, too.
Yeah.
In the last few days. So.
We all have to look forward now. I mean, yes, there are people I want to punish. There are people I want to punish so hard for January the 6th. But they're never going to get punished. I need to let that go.
Make your expectation as neutral as you can.
Yeah, because justice is never going to be served in that situation. It's not something I have any control over, so I have to let it go.
Yeah, and that's a healthy thing.
Hey, thank you for spending your time with us here at Wyrd Mountain Gals. We sure do appreciate it. I know time is the most important thing we have, so I promise that if you take your time to listen to us, we'll take our time to continue to be weird. Many thanks to Sunslice Records for all the help. We couldn't do it without you, Craig. Check out our social media for information, community, or a few laughs. WYRD Mountain Gals.